Hi, and welcome back to another episode of The Breakdown with Bethany. I'm Bethany Braun Silva, and I have a very special two-part episode for you all today. Sarah Nicole Landry is the bird's papaya. That's right. She is an OG influencer. She's been in the game for 16 years, doing all sorts of content creation. She is a mom of four and just all around girl's girl. In this first part, we're going to be talking about Sarah's journey, how she got into the social media content creation game, how it's transitioned over the last 16 years, and of course, body image issues, mental health, and all of that. I'm really excited for you guys to get to listen because I've been a fan of Sarah's for so long. And of course, stay tuned for part two, which will be dropping next week. I feel like I know you, and I think a lot of people probably say that to you. I've been a follower, a fan, for a really long time. My sister-in-law actually introduced me to you. Um, and I wanted to just start off by I think you're what, 14 years into like content creation, something like that, or
It's
more?
even
16?
more now. I calculate it by how old my second oldest is because I started when she was a newborn. So she is 16 and a half. So it'll be 17 years next year.
Okay, so I would
Yeah.
just love to like check in. I mean, what a journey. You're like one of the OGs. How has the journey been and where you are right now? Just like a check
Yeah.
in.
Sure. I love that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really powerful when I say that I've been doing it for 16 years, but I think I always have to have like a second clarifier that like I didn't actually make money doing it for over a decade. So it was a slow burn, but I love that too because I know that I would do this even if I wasn't making money doing it. I just care so much to be in community, and genuinely I started because I felt alone in motherhood. I was living far away from my family and just felt so disconnected. And I remember finding blogs for the first time and watching other women who were at home with their kids and doing crafts and finding ways to, make their homes their own. And I was so in love with that. But I felt like I wanted to be able to talk back. I wanted to be able to participate in the conversation. And, you know, I think nowadays we sort of see people come up on these rises because apps are so technologically advanced and they have opportunity to speed ahead faster. And I'm so happy for that because I was scrappy for 10 years. Like I genuinely Googled how to code and learned how to make my own blog. And I mean, I would sell advertising spots just to be able to pay for the crafts that I wanted to do. And I loved how passionate I was during that time. And then I also look now and I'm like, I sometimes miss the simplicity. We are so fast paced now. And I think I came from, once people were listening and once people were tuning in, I would just talk about anything and everything. And then you start to go, okay, well, I got to protect my peace a little bit. And I've had a really rough mental health last couple years. I got diagnosed with PMDD, and it's totally turned my world upside down, but it also has given me opportunity to reflect on a better relationship with social media, a better relationship with how I share and how I protect myself and how I comfort myself while also staying in community, while also storytelling and not putting so much pressure on myself to just be that perfect creator that knows what they're doing every single day. And I think that's become a huge part of my message is like, listen, I do this job and I struggle with mental health. I do this job and I'm a mom of four. I do this job and I don't always know where my next paycheck is coming. I do this job and I do it so terrified. I don't know what I'm doing. Most of the time I don't know what I'm doing. And I wish more messages were out there like that because I find it really peaceful that there's a lot of us that are just sort of figuring it out as we go, even the ones that are like the OG veterans, because these apps are changing on us every single day. And it causes you to be amazing at redirection and I love all of that. But yeah, it's been a really beautiful journey. This year, especially, I think has shown me what I'm capable of, even when I'm terrified, even when I'm down, even when I'm struggling. I think it's shown me my fight. I think it's shown me my grit, and it's shown me how much I can do when I decide to do things scared. And I think out of my entire career, this is the year that stands out to me the most in terms of like a success story because I know how dark it was for a while there. And I'm really, really grateful to still be here, genuinely doing this job. It's a dream.
Yeah, I mean, and I think people like me who've been following you for a long time, I think we noticed that. And I'm also curious because, I think your platform was vastly different, as it should be, when you
Yeah.
started 16 years ago than it is now. And I think we love you for your vulnerability, for your transparency and all of that. But can you talk to me about, I don't know if it was probably not a clear-cut decision to start, doing that stuff, to being so vulnerable and talking
Hmm.
about, the body image issues
Yeah.
and mental health, but it is really what we know you for now. So can you talk to us? That must have been really scary, right?
Oh gosh. I mean, I don't think that people realize that at the time I was known for being a weight loss influencer, only to there was a series of medical things that were happening. I wasn't coping very well. I knew I had to gain weight. I knew I had to start a new chapter of my life, and I couldn't keep down this path of being a before and after photo. And so I remember seeing people talk about life after dieting and life after weight loss, and a lot of them were having a lot of the same feelings I was having. And at the time, like, let's go back to the timestamp of like social media, 70, like maybe 7 years ago, where it was very short captions. We just had a photo, and then you put a little poem or like a little quote of something or a very quick caption. And I had come from the blogging world. I couldn't be restrained to a one sentence thing. And my notes app in my phone was just full of thoughts and feelings without really somewhere for them to go because people weren't reading long form content. So I started making these very long captions to the point that I had to learn how to edit them down to 150 words because I think that's all you were allowed or something at the time. And that ended up being my superpower because I was at a crossroads of my life where I knew I had recently gone through divorce. I'd recently moved in with my parents, with my kids, and I was a weight loss creator, and I knew that weight loss didn't make me happy. It actually created a lot of a new layer of issues. Not that the weight loss did that inherently, but just the way I approached it and the way that I thought weight loss was the answer made me have to go back to the drawing board. And so I shifted and I started sharing from this very, very vulnerable side because when you're rock bottom, like what do you have to lose, right? I knew that my entire following was not there to watch me learn to love myself when we'd been openly watching me learn to control my body and control my eating and control everything and restrict and, work out 3 times a day. Nobody was upset about that. They were happy that I was doing that. So it was scary. And I actually, if I could go back and show you the analytics, I actually lost the majority of all of those followers. But what was happening at the same time was I was finding new community that was meeting me where I was at now, where I was at then, which was like this. I need to explore what it means to love yourself and what that looks like and how hard that is in today's world. And I started sort of exploring, looking at the things that brought me a lot of shame and were causing, I think, a lot of hesitation in my own life. Things like stretch marks, things like cellulite, things that are very commonplace for people and for a lot of people postpartum, but I didn't know it was common because I too wasn't seeing it. So I ended up really losing that initial following that followed me for weight loss and then gaining an entire new community. And then it just sort of, the ball just kept rolling. And it became this, I love this line. I always tell this whenever I tell my story is once a secret is told, it loses its power. And that's sort of what it was for me. It was like, if I'm going to heal and I'm going to go through all these emotions, I'm going to talk about what it is to, have stretch marks and go through that shame and feeling like I was hiding my whole life. All of a sudden you show it to a million people online and it's like, oh, okay, well, my life didn't end. Nothing terrible happened. In fact, it opened opportunities for me the more like vulnerable I got and the more honest I was with how I was feeling and really healing out loud in a very imperfect way. Like, I mean, it wasn't like I jumped from one pool to another. It was an entire journey of like figuring that out, like learning to stop editing, learning to, stop hyper obsessing over every little bit of my body and my life. And yeah, so I'm really grateful for that journey and I'm really grateful for the lessons. And I'm super thankful that I'm here now and I've allowed myself to show up into newer spaces of different communities as we go because I mean, I was working in body image stuff and then got pregnant with my fourth and I was like, how is this going to work? Because nobody's going to follow me. Only people who are pregnant are going to relate to me. So how am I going to continue my messaging while going through this. And it made me really realize that what I had done was essentially projected my body being the most important thing into just a new category. And so when you realize that people are there for you regardless of like where you're at, that was really powerful for me too. So I've just allowed myself now to sort of be free of the niche and still talk about the things that I think are really important, but also share the silly fun stuff too, and just stuff that makes me happy because gonna guess that it's gonna make other people happy too, and releasing a lot of that self-perfectionism even within the realms of content creation and how we share online.
Yeah, and I think also, you are so sort of vulnerable and stripped down, with
Yeah.
your words and with your mental state. You're
Hmm.
constantly letting us know where you're at, but
Hmm.
you're also stripped down physically. And
Yeah.
actually, no, but it's so powerful.
Hmm.
And I want to talk a bit because there's so many stigmas around,
Yep.
bodies
Yep.
like yours, like mine,
Yeah.
normal bodies, right?
Yeah.
But there's also what was I gonna say? About the postpartum, right? Like the way
Yeah.
we should look. But oh, this is what I was gonna say because but you're also a mom, and
Yeah.
you have to be covered. And so
I know.
talk to me about that because transparently, and I don't know if I'll even include this, but I'm gonna be applying for the SI swimsuit open.
Good.
Like, so, and it was
Yeah.
like, but I look at people like you, and all these moms that I'm so inspired by. But if I hadn't seen you kind of bear it all, I don't know that I would have felt confident enough to do something like that. So talk to me a little bit about the decision to, not just bear it all emotionally and with your
Yeah.
words, but also with your body.
Yeah, I think that it became apparent to me that while I was finding comfort in other people sharing their postpartum experiences and like those moments where you're like first postpartum and that big postpartum diaper, which has now become the norm. But I mean, go back years ago, that was like a shocker. It was a shocker to see people in that state. I wanted to move past just those moments of understanding and grace that we seem to extend in society and go beyond that. Like, oh, I will always look like I've had a baby. I will have a stomach like this. And I've watched a lot of people approach it so many different ways, but I was like, what if we didn't apologize for it all the time? What if we actually saw that this was like a beautiful act of the body and you don't have to love it all the time, but what it's done for you and how it's carried not other life. Let's even take that off the table because there's a lot of people who maybe look like they've had a baby and they have never had a baby. Let's take that off the table. Your body's carried your life, your lived experiences, your memories, your hurts and hangups, and also your joys and all of the stuff that came with it. There is so much that goes into what built your life, which is what also builds your body. And so I think for me, I wanted to stop just doing it in the sense of like coming off like I was apologizing or coming off like here's my why. Like this is what a mom of four looks like, or I wanted to just not always have it be that it was about that. I wanted us to be able to stand in the fact that like this was also cool and sexy and beautiful and it could be approached from a different lens. And I think SI really, that stage and that platform really took me to another level because they didn't really include like they didn't make me walk down that runway with my kids to say it or do it. There was one woman that when I dropped the sarong, this woman in the audience, she's like, that's a mother. And just the joy in her heart. She knew it. We didn't have to go through she knew it. She probably related or have seen, a body like mine and has walked a similar path. I don't know her story, but that sound and the thunderous applause, I was expecting silence. Nobody knew that, but when I walked out there, I knew the stage I was walking out on, and I knew the bodies that had gone before me. So I knew that I was probably going to be met with silence. Nothing in me expected a roar of applause and women like yelling out like that. It changed my life in the most beautiful way. And it reminded me that like we don't have to sit in these corners of sadness and apology for the way that we have been shaped by life in so many different ways. And I think it caused me to approach it all entirely different once again. I don't know. It's been such a cool journey, but I think this year I really was like, I'm so tired of just constantly having to explain it away, like explain the why and explain this. And I have a video going viral right now, and the comments are always that when it lands on a different side of the internet, it's so interesting because everyone will just push you to get plastic surgery. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it is my choice to make. It is my choice to make. The amount of people that are trying to force me into that choice, or just be like, oh, so and so just got a tummy tuck and everything is fine now. Like everything's fine. I'm fine right now. Like I'm genuinely fine right now. And where's the representation for a body like mine if I take it away right now? I don't want to do that. The mission feels bigger than, yeah, anything else. So I'm very happy, and I think for a lot of people they're probably like, I don't believe you, and that's okay. I probably wouldn't have believed me that you could ever truly be okay with having a body like mine or a stomach like mine, but like I am. Like I genuinely am like, it's just a belly. I think I just have that perspective now, and I watch people get all roared up and angry about it, and I'm like, that's so weird. It's just a belly. Like what are we so worried about? And I also carry so much space and empathy for the fact that we were literally conditioned to believe that like our bellies were this indicating factor on like how worthy we were for the world, and worthy we were for magazines and billboards and runways. It's so fascinating. So anyways, that's sort of like where I'm at, and why I've approached it a little bit differently and stopped being so maybe talking it away, and more just like, I'm just gonna do badass things while having a body like mine. And I hope other people can sort of fill in the blanks for themselves on like what that makes them think and feel, and how that maybe changes the way that they look at themselves or changes the way that they look at other people, because there's gonna be, all of us are gonna have different bodies for different reasons. And I think that there's so much honoring we can do in that process to each other, instead of being like, you're not this exact specific mold, or I got a tummy tuck, therefore you're making me feel bad for not having one. Or you know what I mean? Like we don't have to, our decisions can be so our own, and our paths can be our own. And I just think we need a lot more respect and adoration and joy for each other in the decisions that we make for ourselves as we go forward.
Yeah, and I think you're definitely spearheading that, and it's definitely has gone noticed, especially by people like me, moms of multiple children.